Hello everyone, welcome back to Semrai Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. So today's tutorial will be drafting an off-shoulder bodice, and it's going to be an off-shoulder gown. So that means I'm drafting from the shoulder to the waistline. Okay, since we are making an off-shoulder gown, I'll draft from the shoulder to the waistline. So now you can see I've already made my lines. You need your border line. You need your border lines of 1 inch. So what I have right here is the shoulder line, and this is my center front line. So I've already taken my vertical measurements. My vertical measurements are those measurements you take from the shoulder to the half length. Okay, so from the shoulder to the front length, you can see me right here. I've already marked all my vertical measurements out. So the line I have here is my bust point line. The next line is my under bust point line, and the last line is my front length or your waist line. So I'll be having it as my front length. So my bust point is 11.5, my under bust point is 15 inches, and my front length is 18 inches. This is my chest line. Okay, so to calculate the chest line right now, we are going to have a little calculation before we get to the chest line. So I'm going to calculate using my bust circumference. I'm working with a bust of 42 inches. So I'm going to divide 42. Before we get to the chest line, I want to impute my neckline, so we'll be able to drop our shoulder and then get our chest line. So now on my bust measurement is 42, divide by 12 will give me 3.5. so this 3.5 I have here, from my center front line, I'm going to place my tape on the center front line, and I'm going to mark 3.5 as my neck width, that is natural neck width, and I'll also place on this part for my neck depth. So once that is done, I am going to place my pattern ruler to get my natural neckline. So another way you can get your natural neckline easily is by making a squared line. So I'll just come here and mark my 3.5 again. So I'll have a squared line. So at this point, I'll just square my line. And on this line, I'm going to take my 3.5 again from the center front. So I will have a complete square. So here, I'm going to take it from here to here. So once that is done, I'll place my pattern ruler in between them to get my squared line. Can you see that? So it makes it easier for you to have your natural neckline. So the next thing I want to do now, I'm going to measure my shoulder. I'm working with shoulder of 16 inches. 16 inches, so divide by 2. I'm going to place my tape on the center front, and I'll be marking 16 divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. So this is my 8 inches right now. I'll be dropping my shoulder by 1 inch, okay? Because the human shoulder is not straight. So I'll drop by 1 inch, and from here, I'm going to measure. So from here, I'm going to impute the calculation of our chest line. Remember, the chest line has a calculation, and the calculation we'll be using for our chest line will be your bust, which is 42, divided by 6 plus 1.5, and this will give me 8.5. So I'm going to take this measurement from where I dropped my shoulder by 1. From here, I'm going to take 8.5. So I'm sorry about this line I made earlier. I'm going to cancel out this line I made earlier. for my chest line. So your chest line is supposed to be after you drop your shoulder by 1. You impute whatever calculation you have. So I have 8.5. So to have a straight line from the shoulder, I'll be having +1, that is 9.5. So I'll be able to have my chest line. So I'll just mark my straight chest line all the way to the back. So what we are working with here on is on the front line. So I'm going to take the chest line. So the chest line is 9.5 from the shoulder. So this is 9.5 from my shoulder. So I'm going to take it all the way from that point to the back leg. So this is my center back. So I'm going to take off these lines. Like I said earlier, it was a mistake. So now I will be focusing on the front. This is my chest line. So on the chest line, I'm going to take my measurement of my bust circumference divide by 4. But before I do that, I'll be imputing my shoulder. My shoulder here is 8 inches. I'll bring it here first to create my armhole. From the center front, I'm going to mark 8 inches. And at that 8 inches, I'm going to rule a straight line. Okay, so this is my straight line. So from that line, this is my chest line, which we just calculated. I'll divide by 2 to get the midline. This is the midline, and from the midline I'll come in by 0.75. so 0.75 works for everybody, so I will say it's standard. Now to complete this armhole, I'm going to measure. Okay, let me check if I have them. Okay, everything is equal. So on the chest line, I'm going to measure my bust. My bust circumference is 42. I will divide 42 by 4. So if I divide 42 by 4, I'll be having 10.5. So I'm going to measure my 10.5 on the chest line. So from the chest line, I'll measure 10.5. So this is a 10.5, okay? So at that 10.5, I will connect. I'm going to connect what I have right here. Can you see? You can see how I place my pattern ruler. Very important to get an accurate half scale bodice. So now I'm done with this. The next I want to work with is on the bust span. I have a bust span. I'm working with bust span, that is nipple to nipple measurement of 8.5. So this is my 8.5. I'll divide 8.5 by 2. If I do that, I'll be having 4.25. Sorry. So on the bust point, I'm going to place from the center front 4.25. I'll come to the waist. I'll also place my 4.25. So at that point, I'm going to rule a straight line from there, from the waistline to the bust point. I'm using a dart of 1.5. That is sharing from the dart leg. I'm sharing 0.75 and 0.75. So I'll have a very good fit. So from that So now I'm constructing my dart right now. So from this other 0.75, I'm going to connect to the bust point. Now I have a waist I'm working with. I'm working with waist 35. So waist 35 divided by 4 will give me 8.75. So I'm going to measure from the center front 8.75. This is 8 3/4. And I'll add 1.5 inch of my dart. This is 1.5 inch of my dart. Okay, so my waistline is divided by 4. Is 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. This is the mark. I'll add my dart of 1.5, and this is my dart of 1.5. So I'm going to close up what I have on my dart right now. Can you see that? So my bodice is ready. So remaining my chest line. So the chest line I'm working, my bust dart. So my bust dart is the difference I have between the back length. So I'll just come to the back length. My back length is 16. So this is back length, although we have not drafted the back. So, but I'll just take the difference for my bust accommodation. So can you see 2 inches? I'll bring it back here from the bust line. I'll measure 2 inches. Half of 2 inches will give me, that's if I divide 2 by half, I have 1 inch. So at that point, I'm going to rule my line to this point, and I'll rule the center line. From here, I'll come out by 0.75. So I'll be measuring now to see if I have up to 0.75. So once we close up our bust dart will close accordingly. So this is it, and I'll connect it back to my chest line. So with this, the front bodice is ready. So we are going to go over to the back bodice and draft. Once we are done with the back bodice, then we can start up our off shoulder. So now I'm going to impute my neckline first. The neckline I'm working with here, remember we calculated it, neck width is 3.5, but for the back, neck depth is 1 inch for a natural neckline, because the neckline is high. Then I'm going to position my pattern ruler. So I want you to look at how I place my rulers. So I've gotten the neckline. So I'm going to impute my shoulder. My shoulder is 8 inches. On the shoulder line, I'll mark 8 inches. From there, I'll drop my shoulder by 1 inch. And I'm going to connect from there to the natural neckline. And I'm going to impute my 8 inches shoulder measurement on the chest line. This is the chest line. So I'll come to the chest line. I'm going to impute 8 inches. And then I'm going to mark the 8 inches. So I'll simply get the midpoint of 8.5. From here to here, remember my chest line was 8.5, and half of it, this is what it gave us, 4.25. For the back bodies, we are going to go in by 0.5, which is standard, and it works for everybody. So from here, I'll connect to the tip of the shoulder. Now, the next thing I want to do is on the chest line, I'm going to impute my bust. Remember, we had our bust at 42 and we measured 11.5. So I'm going to impute the same 11.5 as you can see on the chest line for the back to complete the armhole. So I'll place my pattern ruler like this for my armhole. It has to align here, and anywhere on the chest line is good. Now I'm going to impute what I have on my waist. Remember, I'm working with waist 35, which is 8.75. 35 divided by 4 will give you 8.75. So from the center front, I'm going to measure 8.75. So this is 8.75. I make a mark to it, and I'm going to divide this 8.75 again. The way it is, I'll divide 8.75 again by 2 and find the midpoint on this line. So this is my midpoint on this line. So I'm going to take what I have on the midpoint from here to here. This is what I have on the midpoint. I'll bring it to the chest line, exactly the same measurement to the chest line, because I want to make a straight line right now. So this is my straight line, but the back dart, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, okay? So my back dart is 1 inch from the chest line. So now I'm using the same 1.5 dart, which I will share 0.75 and 0.75. So I'll connect it for my back dart like this, like that. Now remember we have our mark of our waist divided by 4 at this point, so I will add my dart of 1.5. so if I do that, I'll be closing up these bodies, and this is it. The bodies is closed, as you can see right here. So we have our full back bodies before alterations. All right, so it is time for us to start up the off shoulder bodies right now proper. So to start up the off shoulder bodies proper, the first thing we want to do, I will want to change my marker. Okay, let me change my marker so it will be clearer for us. All right, so it's time for us to start up the drafting of the off shoulder. So for your off shoulder drafting, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, how off do you want the shoulder to be? So for this, I want my shoulder to be as off as 6 inches. So from the shoulder, I'm going to mark 6 inches. Okay? So if you want it higher, you can do 4, you can do 5. So this is my 6 inches, and I'm going to draw a straight line. So I'll also check from the shoulder on the front line. This is my 6 inches. Okay, so I'll just mark my 6 inches, as you can see, to the armhole line. Now the next thing you are going to measure, from the natural neckline, you'll be measuring